Bears Nation, something extraordinary is unfolding right now in the draft evaluation process that could completely reshape how we think about building around Caleb Williams. While everyone's debating defensive linemen and edge rushers, I've been studying game film, analyzing offensive trends, and connecting dots point toward a possibility so electrifying it could elevate our entire offense championship caliber overnight. Welcome to Bears News Fan Report, your home for breaking analysis, insider perspectives, and the real conversations that matter about our Chicago Bears. Here you're getting the most current update, credible insights, and a true fan's voice on every decision that impacts this franchise. Stay locked in through this entire video because what I'm about to reveal has the potential to define the Caleb Williams era for years to come. Let me paint the full picture of where we are right now because understanding context is absolutely critical. The 2025 season ended with us holding the 25th overall pick in 2026 draft. It's not terrible, but it's not great either. We're in that middle ground territory where you can find solid starters, quality contributors, maybe even the occasional Pro Bowler if you draft well. But game changers, franchise-altering talents, those usually come off the board in the top 15, and we're sitting at 25 watching other teams make the moves that matter. The conventional wisdom says we need to address the defensive line with this pick. And look, I completely understand that logic. Our defense struggled mightily down the stretch. We couldn't stop the run consistently. We couldn't generate enough pressure on opposing quarterbacks, and there were games where we just looked physically overwhelmed in the trenches. Caden McDonald from Ohio State will likely be available at our spot, and he'd be a safe, solid pick that fills a need. Most mock drafts have us taking him, someone similar, on the defensive side of the ball. But here's where I need you to really think about this. We've spent years, literally years, trying to fix. We've drafted defensives high. We've signed free agents, changed coordinators, and while we've made progress, still not where we need to be. At some point, you have to ask yourself, are we building this team the right way, or should we be thinking bigger, bolder, more aggressively about maximizing what we have on offense? Because what we have on offense is Caleb Williams, quarterback who showed flashes of absolute brilliance in his second season. The arm talent is undeniable. The processing speed improved dramatically as the year went on, and there were games where he looked like a future MVP. But even with all that talent, our offense felt limited at times. We had moments of explosive plays, sure, but we lacked that consistent, grinding ability to impose our will on defenses. We couldn't control games when we needed to, couldn't salt away victories by running the clock in the fourth quarter. DJ Moore is an excellent receiver. Rome Odunze showed promise as a rookie, and our offensive line took steps forward. But there's a missing piece, critical component that elite offenses have, and we simply don't. I'm talking about a running back who changes how defenses have to approach us. A player so dynamic that he makes everything else easier for everyone around him. Someone who can catch passes out of the backfield like a wide receiver, run between the tackle power, and take any touch to the house if the defense makes one wrong step. Now, the Bears haven't had that kind of running back in what feels forever. Cycled through committee approaches, veteran stopgaps, mid-round picks who never quite panned out. And while that's worked adequately in certain stretches, it's never given us that elite dimension that makes offenses truly dangerous. Think about what Christian McCaffrey does for San Francisco, what Saquon Barkley does for Philadelphia, what Derrick Henry did for Baltimore this year. Those players don't just contribute, they fundamentally alter the entire offensive ecosystem. And here's where things get really interesting, because there's a player in this draft class who has exactly his capabilities. A running back who's been dominating at the college level, showing a combination of speed, power, receiving skills, and big play ability that you rarely see all in one package. Someone who helped lead his team deep into the college football play, making plays on the biggest stage against the best competition. A player whose scouts are calling a potential top 10 talent at the position. The challenge is that projected to go way before our pick at 25. Most analysts have him coming off the board somewhere between picks 8 and 12, which means we'd be sitting there watching another team select him while we're stuck choosing from whoever's left. And that's the kind of moment that can haunt a franchise, watching a generation talent go to someone else because you weren't aggressive enough to go get him. But what if we didn't just sit there? What if the Bears decided to bold, to make a statement, to go all in on building building an elite offense around Caleb Williams instead of playing it safe with another defensive lineman. Trading up in the draft is expensive and requires mortgaging, but championship teams make those moves when they identify players who can transform their franchise. The Eagles did it for Devonta Smith, the Dolphins did it for Jalen Waddle, the Steelers did it for Najee Harris. Sometimes you have to pay the price to get you. The player I'm talking about, the one who changed everything for our offense, is Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame. And before you dismiss this as wild speculation, hear me out on why this makes more sense than you might think. Love isn't just another good college running back who'll be solid in the NFL. He's a legitimate weapon who excels in every aspect of the position. His against elite competition in the college football playoff shows a player who's ready to contribute immediately level. Let me break down what makes Love special and why he'd be perfect for what build. First, explosiveness off. He has legitimate home runs that forces defenses to respect the threat of him breaking a long touchdown on any play. It's not something scheme for either a player has that gear or he doesn't, and Love absolutely has. Second, he's not just speed. He runs with power between the break system and has the vision crease in the deep other myth. But here's what really make Love or his receiving. In the modern NFL, your running back genuine threat in game. Love caught passes all over the field for Notre Dame, running routes wide receiver, creating mismatch against linebacker, and giving Caleb Williams another dynamic target to work. Imagine Love lined up in the slot on third, forcing the choose covering him with linebacker or a defensive can't handle him. That's a nightmare match. Simply don't. The scheme fit is also perfect. Our offensive coordinator willingness to be creative with personnel, to use multiple formation, to attack defenses in different ways. Adding Love gives us so much. We can run traditional inside zone. We can get him outside on sweeps and tosses. We can throw him screens and wheel routes. We can use him in play action, create explosive passes downfield. He makes every single play in our playbook more dangerous because defenses can never ignore him. Now, let's talk about what it would cost to move up and get him. The Saints are projected to take Love at pick 8, which means we'd need to jump from 25 up to somewhere around 7 or 8 to ensure we get him. That's a significant jump, probably costing us our first-round pick this year, second round, and potentially a future first or multiple future picks. That's steep, a question. But consider what we'd be getting in return. A potential 10-year starter at a crucial position who makes our quarterback better immediately. The return on investment calculation, fascinating when you really dig into it. If Love becomes what scouts think he can be, if he develops into a 3-down back who gives us 1,200 yards scrimmage and double-digit touchdowns annually, that's worth way more than multiple mid-round picks who might become elite talent at premium positions is worth overpaying for because the impact multiple. Love doesn't just help the running game. He makes the passing game better by keeping defenses honest. He doesn't just score touchdowns. He controls games and keeps our defense fresh by sustaining long drives. There's also the timing aspect to consider. Caleb Williams is entering year 3, which is typically when quarterbacks make their biggest leap. Having an elite supporting cast around him in that crucial development year could accelerate his growth significantly. We've seen how quickly young quarterbacks can elevate their game when they have the right weapons around them. Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert with Keenan Allen, and Josh Allen with stuff. These partnerships amplify everyone's and defensively, having a dominant rushing it actually helps that side of the ball more than drafting one more defensive lineman would. When you can run the football effectively, you control time of possession. You keep opposing offensive off. You put your defense in better position by not forcing them to defend short fields 3 and out. You allow them to be more aggressive with their play calling because they're not exhausted from being on the field for 70% of the game. It's all connected. And elite offense can actually improve your defense indirectly. The biggest concern with this strategy is obvious. We'd be giving up a lot of draft capital for one player, and if it doesn't work out, we've set ourselves back significantly. Love could get injured, he could struggle to transition to the NFL, or he could just not be as good as his college tape suggests. Those are real risks, can't be ignored. But here's my counter-argument. Playing it safe, taking the predictable pick at 25, that's the risk of mediocrity, staying stuck in the middle, of never quite having enough explosive playmakers to compete with the elite teams in the NFC. Bears fan, I genuinely believe that Jeremiah Love represents a kind of game-changing talent that could take our offense from good to elite. I believe that pairing him with Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and an improving offensive line creates an offensive core that can compete with anyone in the conference for the next. I believe that being aggressive in this moment, trading up to get our guy instead of hoping he falls or settling for someone lesser, that's the kind of bold move championship organizations make. Would Ryan Poles and Matt Matt Eberflus actually do this? Would they trade up 17 spots to take a running back and conventional wisdom says address the defense? Honestly, probably not. The safer, more predictable move is taking a defensive lineman at 25 and hoping it works out. But sometimes safe isn't what wins championships. Sometimes you have to be willing to make the move that scares you a little bit, that makes other teams question your sanity, that forces everyone to reevaluate what you're building. Now I want to hear from you, Bears Nation. Would you be comfortable with the team trading up into top 10 to select Jeremiah Love? Do you think pairing him with Caleb Williams worth sacrifice future draft capital? Or would you rather play it safe, take defensive lineman at 20, build through more conservative means? Drop your comments because this kind of strategic decision that defines franchises. Make sure you're subscribed to Bears News Fan Report and hit that notification bell because we're going to be covering every angle of this draft process as we get closer to April. This is shaping up to be one of the most important drafts in recent franchise history, and you need to be here for all the analysis and update. Let's go, Bears!